I've hit Infinite rank 37 seasons in a row in Marvel Snap, and the biggest difference between hitting Infinite and missing it isn't your deck choice, it is how and when you snap. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the snapping rules I actually use to hit Infinite every single month, including some tactics that feel a little unethical, but win cubes. Let's dive right into it. Hey, what is up, everybody? Kicker of Elves here. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Today we are going to go over the secrets to snapping to accelerate your climb to Infinite. These are the secret skills that I have learned over the past 37 months in a row of hitting Infinite, oftentimes in the first week. This past season, December 2025, I hit Infinite in less than 48 hours of the season going live, and these are the snapping tips that carried me there. So whether you're trying to hit Infinite for the first time, just speed up your climb, or hit your new prestige rank on the Infinite leaderboard, these are the skills you need to take your snapping power to the next level. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. All right. Let's start off with some universal snap guidelines. These snapping guidelines are going to carry across pretty much every single match that you play and make sure we're not putting ourselves into any awkward situations. First among these is you should never be snapping before the final location reveals on turn 3. Sometimes you're going to end up playing into unrevealed locations on the early turns, and we just want to make sure we're not putting ourselves in any negative spots where, the third location flips up and it's Space Throne, for example, and you've committed a 1-2 like Thanos stone there and instantly given your opponent that win. They snap back, or you have to retreat for 2 because you just played into an unknown location and things messed up. People are going to play Merlins, people are going to play Legions or a Scarlet Witch and change locations on you, but give yourself some time to let all 3 of the locations flip, understand what the normal board state looks like, and then decide from there. Additionally, related to that is that you should never be snapping on the final turn of the game. You've probably heard people call this a boomer snap, and it often causes retreats. Now, I say you should almost never do it because there is a situation that we're going to talk about later on in the video where doing so can actually be quite beneficial to you, but more on that in a little bit. Last but certainly not least, bluff snapping. This almost never works, and you should really not be factoring this into your game plan. It requires a very specific deck construction and situation for it to ever really work. Some of you might remember the famous quote from Ben Brode when the game first came out, where he was talking about like, "Oh, I love snapping when I have a hand of rocks and making people retreat." That's adorable and kind of on brand for Ben Brode. But for most of us, we're going to snap into a situation where we're now committing 2 or 4 cubes and we've got nothing. The only time I can even really remember this working out for me is I was playing a Mr. Negative deck and I was playing against a bounce list. I played Mr. Negative on 4. I didn't have Jane. I didn't have a pop-off. I said, I'm going to snap, and they kind of have to respect a Mr. Negative snap and they'll leave, right? And they did. And for a moment, I was like, "Oh yeah, bluff snapping, it worked." And I thought, I was like, I think that's the first time bluff snapping's ever worked for me. So don't bluff snap, especially if you're trying to climb to Infinite. You're going to be very frustrated if you have to retreat for 2 or 4 cubes because you thought you could fake somebody out and it didn't work. The next set of guidelines here is you need to know your deck's pop-off combo. Not just how your deck plays, just what cards are doing. Like if you're playing Victoria Hand, you understand that Victoria Hand buffs your created cards and you're trying to get more created cards into your hand. That benefits Victoria Hand. Not that. Understanding that like next level above of like, oh, I want to try to be high rolling and playing a Victoria Hand and copying it with Frigga. Or if I don't have a Frigga or a Nico spell or Nico skill, whatever it's called, to copy my Victoria Hand, I should be waiting for Moon Girl and stuff like that you're not going to pick up immediately when you first pick up a deck. This is why I'm always recommending in my videos, take a new deck into Conquest before taking it onto the ladder. Put its deck through its paces. I've often sometimes heard people be like, "Oh, I want an unranked mode." There is an unranked mode. It's called Proving Grounds in Conquest. Take your deck there, get a little bit of practice with it, because if you're not comfortable enough with your deck to know what your high roll is, what your maximum or very high-end point output is, you're not going to be comfortable or effective at snapping with your deck, and that's going to lead to a longer climb to Infinite, missed opportunities to get more cubes out of your opponent. Ultimately, you have to know when you have it, because if you don't have it, you need to know that as well. When you have it and when you don't, that's going to help you effectively snap and retreat. You're not going to get that by watching a video, taking the deck immediately onto the ladder. You're rank 85 or whatever. You're trying to push into the 90s to get that 500 gold. Take it into Conquest, try it out. You're going to actually, it's like driving a car. You get behind it, you're like, oh, okay, this, the turning handle's this way. Or, oh, I've got to press down instead of up on the control to switch my track on Spotify. Weird example, but sticking with Victoria hand, you're going to see that, oh, okay, it's better for me to hold my Victoria hand if I don't have a Frigga or a Nico right away to be able to copy it. Oh, playing Misery into a location where I have my Hood and my Iron Patriot's way more valuable. Stuff like that. That may seem obvious, but when you've actually got a deck in your hands and practicing it becomes a lot easier. The third, and this is perhaps the most important category of skills here, is you need to snap when you have it. You need to know when you have it and not when you play it. So what do I mean by that? When I say when you have it, that means, oh, I've got my key combo. Let's talk about Mr. Negative, for example. If you're playing Mr. Negative, did a deck guide about this on the channel the other day, so go check that out if you're trying to have a nice cheap Series 5 deck, or cheap deck that only has one Series 5 card in it. You're going to love that one. But you're looking at your hand, and you see I've got Ravonna Renslayer, I've got Mr. Negative, and I've got Jane Foster. What you want to do is, let's say you play Ravonna on 2. What you want to do going into turn 3 when you play Mr. Negative is snap before you play it. Because if you play Mr. Negative and then snap, your opponent knows what you're doing. They go, oh God, they've gotten a turn 3 Mr. Negative. I'm out of here. You're only going to get 1 cube. Sometimes that's fine, but if you want to keep your opponent in, you have to leverage information asymmetry. You know you have your combo. Your opponent doesn't know anything about what's in your hand unless it's on the board, unless you've done something where, like, oh, you've copied something back to your hand. Your opponent knows what your board state is. They don't know what your hand state is. If you're playing your Ravonna into that early, they have to guess, like, do they have negative? I don't know. Am I going to stay? And you're increasing the chances of them staying and committing 2 cubes to the match by playing before you put it out on the board state. If you're playing an Activate Surfer list and you have Jocasta and Prodigy in hand, snap before you play the Jocasta. They don't know what's coming until it's actually on the board, and leverage that. Related to this is a mindset that is so important that I really don't see a lot of top players talking about, is that the idea that you, the player, are not snapping, your deck is snapping. I first heard this from Brendan Patrick. He was the co-host of KM Best's old podcast, The Snapshot, that stopped playing about a year and a couple months ago. I really loved that podcast. Hope it comes back one day. But he was talking about the idea of your deck snaps, not you. If you have the combo, this isn't Magic. This isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, there's the snap mechanic is what makes Marvel Snap unique in so many different ways. You can't not snap on your combo. That's how you're going to get ahead. That's how it's going to speed up your climb to infinite. If you've got Ravonna Renslayer into Mr. Negative, you should be snapping. If you have Mr. Negative into Jane Foster, you should be snapping. If you have Victoria hand into Frigga, you should be snapping, and so on and so forth. You have to break out of your more conservative habits. I say this because it's taken me an extremely long time to embrace that. I am very much a person who, the first month I hit infinite, it took me until like the last 2 or 3 days of the season. It was the whole month, and I was being way too conservative with my snaps. Now I'm able to break through that. Like, oh, I've got my combo, snap. Oh, I've got 2 out of 3 pieces of my combo, snap. Force the opponent to have to commit to see what you've got. And if they're staying in, that gives you the information that they feel confident about their deck as well, and that helps you play that much better. If you only snap when there is a 100% chance of victory and your opponent can see it on the board, you're never going to get more than 2 cubes a game. If you want to get those 4 cube and 8 cube wins, or even that precious 4 cube retreat, sometimes a 4 cube retreat can be even more satisfying than a 4 cube win. You need to be able to leverage information asymmetry, snap when you have it, not when you play it, and make sure you're snapping when your deck has its combo and not being overly conservative. Remember how I talked about when you don't want to, how you should never snap on turn 6 and less? This is that slide. These are some unethical snap strategies. You're not going to be making friends out there on the leaderboard doing these maneuvers, but this is a PvP only game. Frankly, your opponent is not thinking about how they can make sure you have a good time. They're thinking about how they can win the game. And if you want to leverage every possible advantage and just go knives out on them, These more unethical snapping strategies can help you out. Just be warned, you might get some negative emotes. You might get a little Miss Marvel thumbs up at you. You got to have tough skin. And if you're playing somebody you recognize or somebody you know from like Discord or X, maybe don't do this to them. First among those strategies is that if you take a long time on turn 4 or turn 5, like you're just stretching out your, before you hit the end turn button, even if you know what you're doing, and you also don't have your key combo piece on the board, like sticking with the Mr. Negative example. If you played Ravona on turn 2, didn't play Mr. Negative on 3, and then you're going to play him on 4, if you're taking a long time, that could be sending a signal to your opponent that, oh, they're really thinking about this. If they had Mr. Negative, they would just play right away, but they're really roping here. They don't have it. I'm going to snap them and scare them out of the game. See where I'm going here? You've got Mr. Negative. You just bait them into snapping, then you commit an end turn, and they're now in for 4 cubes when they could have played a lot smarter and just waited out and not falling for that little strategy. I will say, if you're doing this and they start emoting you, they hit you with missed minutes, you're not fooling anybody. Just end your turn. You can only do this for so long. If they start emoting at you, they know what's up, or they're not going to snap at you, and they're just trying to get you to finish your turn. So don't hard commit to that. It is just one way. I've definitely used this before to where I can bait somebody like, oh, they don't think I've got it. Oh, they got too confident and snapped me. Boom, now we're locked in for much higher stakes. On that same note, related to that, don't get cute with emoting at them or doing the like, I'm losing thing and expecting them to snap back on that. They're going to take that the wrong way and think that you're taunting them and dip if they don't feel confident. Don't BM people. Don't do stuff like that. No one is genuinely saying I'm losing at you when they're losing. Don't think you're going to fool people doing that. And then going back to that when to snap on turn 6, again, you're not going to be making friends doing this strategy, but I want to pass on some secret tips. When you're in a position where the board state doesn't make it 100% obvious that you're going to win, where there's still a question in your opponent's mind about like, okay, they don't obviously have it, or like, I've got my thing here. If you wait until the very end of where the turn bar is running out and it starts like doing the red flash, then you snap, your opponent might just stay and commit. It's in the old days, you used to do that and it like wouldn't give people extra time. They get extra time, but I have found if I am really trying to juice extra cubes, if I'm desperate to cross over from rank 89 into 90 before I go to bed so I can zoom up and get that 500 gold and feel like I've cleared a threshold, doing that, more often than not, people are not going to retreat. It's late. Maybe they've set their phone down after they've committed their turn. They don't even see that you snap back, and then boom, you've doubled the stakes again going into turn 6, and you're getting those extra cubes. These are not strategies to make best friends on the Marvel Snap ladder. You're going to get some Miss Marvel thumbs up. But if you're out there trying to climb to infinite as fast as possible, I want to give you as many strategies as I can to do that. Last but certainly not least here, you need to know your opponent. Not personally, you don't need to know like, oh, there's Jeff. Jeff always plays these kind of decks. That's stuff for the people of the top 0.00001% of Infinite, where they recognize like, oh, I'm playing against Jay Walla. Jay Walla changed his name to Denish Hellamane. Jay Walla now plays Zombie Galacti all the time, and he plays like this. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about understanding the common and popular deck archetypes. Snapping, a lot of people think snapping is just about when you've got the right plays. Snapping is not all about when you've got your good draws. It's also a lot about recognizing when your opponents have their bad draws or they're not playing optimally. What do I mean by that? The dynamic board state of Marvel Snap can create situations like, did a location pop up, like the discard a card location and get rid of their win con? Did it discard their Victoria hand? Did they skip turn 4 when their deck's like a discard deck and they want to be playing Dracula on turn 4 and they've just totally floated? Are they playing Destroy and Wakanda flipped up on their Deadpool? Stuff like that are moments where you can bully snap them and just say, oh, I've got a clear advantage that you and I both know about. And they might have to dip out for, it may only be a cube or 2, but it saves you from having to play out the rest of the game. Maybe you don't have your combo pieces. Maybe that was the advantage they needed. But the more you understand the kind of decks your opponent's playing, the more you can say, oh, it's not about me having it. I know that you don't have it. Let's go with the discard example. You didn't play anything on turn 1. You played Morbius on turn 2. You played a Corvus Glaive on turn 3 and you discarded your Dracula and your Modoc. On turn 4, I'm going to snap you because you don't have a good play. That sort of knowledge and that sort of bully snapping, for lack of a better word, is going to force your opponent to retreat and get you into that next game that much faster, get you a secured win. Snapping is not just about getting those 4 to 8 cube wins. It can force retreats early, and forcing retreat early gets you back onto the ladder, secures you that win, and gets you that cube. You don't need to always be swinging for the fences and getting 8 cube wins to accelerate your climb. You need to just be grinding out 1 and 2 cube victories when you can force an opponent to leave. Or if they're cocky, say, oh, I don't care that my Deadpool's under Wakanda. I can compete with that. We're totally fine. Take advantage of them saying that because you're going to be the one to come out on top. With that, I want to thank you for tuning into this. If you want more high-level Marvel Snap meta strategy, in-depth deck guides, and a fair share of pretty lame jokes, stick it right here to Kicker of Elves channel. Please subscribe, leave a comment. Do you have any snap tips you want to share with the community? Did these help you out? I really want to know and see the response. I love seeing the comments from all you guys. We've got some really great comment sections. I will reply and engage with every single comment that comes out as long as you're not being rude or outright trolling me. If you have a question about some of these tips or want to run things by me, or even just have something totally unrelated to this video, just other general Marvel Snap questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I love talking about this stuff with y'all. And heck, even if you don't want to talk about Marvel Snap, if you just want to talk about how FLCL is the greatest piece of media ever created, you want to rattle off a good anime or book or music recommendation that you've got, I'm here to listen to that. If you've got meal prep ideas, please, I'm hurting for new meal prep. I've been cooking so many chicken cutlets, bringing them to work. I need some recommendations there. Please let me know in the comments. All meal prep, anime, and music recommendations aside, I'm Kicker of Elves. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.